Hello, welcome to Landmark Serviced Office Video News. I'm Richard Gill. In this edition we're going to be talking about some of the consolidation which has been going on in the sector and exploring the roles and opportunities out there in the marketplace at the moment. I'm delighted to welcome today someone who's been operating in an agency role in the sector for some 15 years. First as a broker in the early 2000s, but more recently in a role acquiring centres for operators and more particularly acting on behalf of sellers, buyers and investors in the businesses in the UK. He has, in the last few months, been integrally involved in the sale and purchase of Target Space and Ventia portfolios. He is Douglas Green of Green Kinnear Real Estate. Douglas, thank you very much for joining me today. I'd like to start off by asking you about the transactions that you've been involved in a little bit in the last few months, and in particular whether you see more consolidation happening in the sector.
It's quite interesting. When I started in the sector back in just the start of 2000, it was predicated on the consolidation in the industry taking place. That of course didn't happen until much more recently, but now it has happened, and it has been driven mostly by the Reguses of this world. Although having said that, the last 3 transactions that I've been involved in have not only been independents being sold, but being acquired by similar independents. So the answer to the question is I think there is consolidation still to be had in the market.
You see new entrants coming in on the investor side as well as the operator side?
I think it's likely, because there's so much talk about the sector at the moment, and you can't escape it in the press and the media generally. I think that we have already been approached by a number of funds to start looking out for investment opportunities, and so therefore I think there will be fresh investment in the market. Yes, very much so.
Douglas, can I ask you a little bit about your role, GKRE's role in these transactions? And I assume it goes a little bit further than simply introducing buyer to seller.
In each case it's been very different. And all the activity that we've been involved in, it often starts with an initial meeting, understanding a client's exit strategy, and I've mostly been on the sell side. So we're looking at bringing a business to market, and therefore its aspirations in terms of the vendor, which is important, presentation of the information, and then locating a purchaser willing and able to complete the deal. I think those are the key main headings in what I do. But it can be more involved or less. But I tended to keep a very active involvement in all of the transactions.
And the key question that everybody wants to know the answer to is, how is that price arrived at, Douglas? Obviously there's always some negotiation, but are there some parameters that you start with?
It seems to have been whittled down to a multiple of EBITDA, whether you're looking at the freehold or the leasehold model, and of course that changes. It all depends on the maturity of the business, the next major event, i.e. lease renewal or rent reviews, or factors that could change a business. And there's no set formula, there's no set price, but it generally is a multiple of the free cash or EBITDA. And again, it's subject to market demands, as always.
We've seen tremendous growth in the sector, particularly over the last 5 years or so. Do you think that growth has in some way inhibited the values that are being achieved because it's held the workstation rates down?
Well, I think you could look at it that way, although in my own opinion, I think over the last few years we've seen the compartmentalisation of the sector. That you've got the very high-end market, which is managing to hit very high levels of workstation prices, probably in correlation to high-end rentals. You've got a mid-market, which is much more of the discounted end of the market, which probably is commensurate with second-hand space, which is predominantly where they will be acquiring their space. And then you've got much more of the budget.
And there's probably been a faster rise in conventional rents in the last year or two, in particular in the City and West End, than we've seen commensurate increases in workstation rates. Do you see that coming back?
I think it's important that they do, and I think it's important that the market does sustain those higher workstation prices.
Interesting swap around this time,
yes.
Certainly. That's nicely into my last question, which was very much about the advent of the co-working, collaborative work environments. You've obviously seen a great deal of this over the last couple of months. Is that going to have an effect on values as we move forward?
Impossible to say. I mean, of course, WeWork have an eye-watering valuation at the moment, and that's always the cause of great conversation. I'm yet to have an exit strategy discussed with the co-working, because of course it's too early to say. But I would say that when I do meet the co-working companies, I will give them a similar advice in terms of exit strategy, building up a business, trying to get a mature business going, and look at it selling as EBITDA. I think it's the same thing.
We're very keen as an operator to put ourselves alongside the WeWork valuation, and I'm sure
you are.
Douglas, thank you very much indeed for joining me today.
It's been a great pleasure, Richard. Thank you.
That's all we've got time for in this edition. Please join me again. Bye-bye.